In April of 2022, we closed escrow on a 77-acre property overlooking the greater Palm Springs area.
It's now May of 2023, and the house is still not ready for guests.
It's close, but
We'll
also not close.
You are behind schedule.
This is going to be kind of a two-part series. Half of it is an update on a project that we thought we'd be done with last July.
And then next week in part 2, we'll be going over the bedroom designs, the furnishing costs for those bedrooms, and hopefully giving you a tour of the finished interior.
And we'll be that much closer to getting this house online. What's up, guys? I'm Steven.
And I'm Kylie, and if you're new to our channel, we are a husband and wife team of real estate investors and short-term rental property managers.
Our most recent investment property purchase was a big one. It's about 80 acres of high desert land with a single family home on that property.
It kind of has a Joshua Tree feel, this area up here, but with views going from Palm Springs all the way to Indio.
And we have big dreams for how we're going to use the rest of the 80 acres on the property, but for now, the first priority is getting the main house online.
We've completed dozens of whole home setups for rental properties for ourselves, for clients, and so as soon as we closed escrow, we hit the ground running and got to work on the design and setup process.
Kylie did the design plan, and then I kind of got to work getting to know the house, making a repair list and projects that needed to be completed, and then we purchased most all of the furniture at that time.
And we were on track to finish that house, so we thought, in about 8 weeks. That sounds crazy now.
It took a little longer.
Will it be much longer?
And 8 weeks is on the longer side of timelines when we've compared to previous whole home setups, but we knew that this was entering the busiest time of year for us in the Coachella Valley.
Yeah, so most of our management portfolio is in the greater Palm Springs area. So for us, busy season is festival season when Coachella and Stagecoach guests are paying top dollar for the houses. So we make sure we spend a lot of time in them, getting them in top dollar shape.
After the festival rush slows down, the temps heat up, and the travel demand kind of slows down. It's over 100 degrees here a lot, and a lot of people just make a choice to go somewhere cooler.
But that summer slowdown starting in May would mean that a lot of our time would be freed up, and we were hoping to have the house online by 4th of July.
Obviously that didn't happen, and we'll be happy if we get it online by 4th of July this year.
And whoever does get to stay there will be in for a treat, because we actually did spend 4th of July there last year, and the views are amazing. We could see so many different fireworks shows.
Now that is a fireworks show.
So here's what did happen last summer. We had an unexpected influx of new clients who wanted us to do whole home setups for them.
Whole home setups for short-term and mid-term rental properties are our specialty, and so we're excited to get these clients on board, but we knew that if we did take on all 4 of these, it would mean pushing back getting our own property online.
Whole home setups typically can be done in 3 to 4 weeks if there's no painting or big renovations involved, and last summer we had 4 of them back to back.
We could have said no to these projects, but the setup fees alone that we collected covered 6 months of carrying costs for that house and continue to pay us out monthly in management fees.
Here's what we mean by that. Our mortgage on the 77-acre property is about $4,500 US per month, but then we have an interest-only HELOC that we took out on our primary residence to pay the down payment for this new property, and that's about $1,700 a month, and it's changing all the time because of variable interest rates, which haven't been in our favor in the last year.
And then we have utility costs of about $150 per month while the house is vacant.
So all in, we're paying about $6,400 a month to keep the new property. But last year we did the 4 whole home setups, which got us about $40,000 in income, which covered about 6 months of carrying costs on the property.
And then there's the ongoing management fees that we're collecting from those properties, which when you average it out over an annual basis is paying for about the monthly carrying costs for our big acreage.
So that took a little bit of the stress off the decision last summer whether to take on these new clients or prioritize setting up our house.
It still hurts to make those monthly payments to what we know could be a top performing and income producing property. But it did take the edge off of the decision to push off what we thought was going to be just a couple months of delay.
So fall came, the whole home setups were done, photographed and online, and we got back to work setting up this house.
But fall is also when our business starts to pick up again here in the Coachella Valley. So our day-to-day operations were starting to soak up more and more of our time again. And Steven was really only getting up to the house like once a week to paint.
And as you can imagine, working once a week, progress was slow. So we decided to hire out the rest of the painting in the interior. This is something we probably should have just hired out from the beginning and got it done while we were working on other projects in the summer. But you know, hindsight is 20/20.
We were trying to save some money by doing it ourselves, and sometimes we have a little bit of trouble relinquishing control of projects. But the painting, it ended up still taking a long time. It took him about a month to finish the interior and then several more weeks to finish the exterior of the house.
Finally, by about the end of October last year, the painting was done, and then it started raining a lot.
That's when our project timeline became a giant dumpster fire.
This is a disaster.
Yeah, we went up to the house one day, gonna spend the day working there, and we went into the casita room and found a bunch of water.
Like giant pools of water from the ceiling where
Paint had bubbled, and it was a mess, because that room was done.
Yeah, painted, freshly painted. So instead of starting to assemble furniture in that room and getting it all ready, we were instead tearing out an entire wall of drywall and part of the ceiling and
insulation. So to give a little context, the way this house is set up, there's kind of the main floor with a primary bedroom, kitchen, living space, and then 2 bedrooms are down some stairs off the kitchen.
There's also 2 patios off of the main level, and one of those patios sits on top of a casita.
So what happened was there was a lot of rain, and the drainage off this patio wasn't the best, and over time the tar sealant that was underneath the existing tile floor kind of broke down, cracked, and leaked.
Leaked meaning it completely destroyed the room. So not only did we have to, rehang drywall and repaint the whole casita, we also had to figure out why it was leaking so much and decide on a solution to prevent it from happening again. It's actually probably a good thing that we hadn't finished furnishing there, otherwise we would have had a bunch of ruined furniture as well.
And now it was winter, and it's about 20 degrees cooler up at that property than it is down in the valley.
And a very rainy winter. So up there was a lot of snowfall, even though we're so close to the desert where we don't get any snow down here. So our first band-aid for this was just to put a tarp down and bricks on the edge just to get us through the rainy, snowy season until we could actually work on the surface.
Yeah, the tarp prevented water from getting down into the casita, but a few times we basically had an ice rink on top because it wasn't fully draining off and water was freezing on top of it, and our fun continued.
We put a camera in view of that patio just to keep an eye on things, but there were a few times where we had to make emergency trips up there because the wind had blown part of the tarp over, or it looked like it was getting too heavy with water and we didn't want the whole thing to cave in.
It was not fun.
It was horrible. Horrible, horrible.
The problem was we couldn't get a long enough streak of predictably dry and warm enough days to reseal the patio and redo it.
So all throughout this time, we are researching the best ways to seal the patio once the weather cleared up.
The area where this leak was happening was a fairly small area, and we researched if we could get the same tile as the rest of the patio so we could just tear out and replace the leaky section.
But we couldn't get that tile anymore. So that meant we either were gonna have a half and half tile situation happening on the patio, or everything was getting ripped out.
And that's what we did. We hired a couple guys to help, and we tore out all the old tile, which was a messy and heavy hauling job.
But you hired someone to do it, so.
I did. That's
good.
That was a plus.
Good job.
Giving up control made me crazy.
So what we ended up doing for sealing is putting down a waterproofing membrane, similar to what you do if you were doing a shower installation with tile.
We used a product called Noble Deck, and it's specifically made for outdoors where there's rooms underneath, some exposed space that's flat and doesn't get the best drainage, so we researched, got that, and installed it. It comes in 6 feet wide rolls, and so we kind of layered that across the patio and sealed the seams
very well.
Really well, not a sealant.
So previously there were runoff drain spouts on the patio, which was what we figured out, or Stephen figured out, was the cause of the leaking. So instead he installed a floor drain.
It goes under the floor into the ceiling joist cavity of the room below, and then out and away. We run pipe out and away from the house.
So now he is in the tile laying stage. So it's getting all new tile across the floor and then also the sides of the railing.
We retiled the sides to make sure we put the waterproofing membrane behind those tiles.
So the membrane goes up, so there's no way that it can get through the crack.
We hope it's completely waterproof. for a long, long time. So over the winter, while we waited for better weather to work on the tile outside, we worked on the interior parts of the rest of the house and got really close to finishing that up.
We're going to spend the next couple of days up there, and we will have our kids with us, so productivity is a little bit lower, but I have a good feeling that we are going to be like 99.9% done by the end of this weekend.
At least with the interior of the house. After the patio is finished, the last major project is a hot tub and then refinishing the casita once we're sure it's waterproof.
The hot tub, that poor hot tub, been sitting on its side since last May, and then we got these huge gusts of wind last winter, and it knocked it over. So now it's upside down.
Sitting there.
We've kind of just been pretending like it's not there because
it's just sad.
We just have so many other things out of sight, out of mind. But we do have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Soon.
I really couldn't believe that thing tipped over. It was on a pallet, which I staked with straps into the ground, and then I made like a lean-to with a 2x8, a big piece of lumber, and that completely snapped in half, and my strap snapped, and over the thing went.
So we've got the patio, the hot tub, putting the casita back together, and then we're done.
So once again, we're moving into the slow summer season here in the desert. So we're gonna
Nobody asked us to do home setups.
No home setups. And
say no.
We're gonna devote our next few weeks just finishing this place out and getting it ready for rent.
So we're excited to show you the finished interior next week. So make sure you're subscribed so you can check that out. And we're also excited to share a new free resource that we've been working really hard on to share with you guys to just make it that much easier when you're setting up your own property.
So hit that little bell for the notification icon and be sure to watch that video next week.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.